Welcome to the Versions of Healing, the interview segment of the Healing Version podcast, a space created to uplift real stories from real people on their unique paths to healing. In each episode, we sit down with individuals from all walks of life, from survivors, overcomers, healers, and seekers, to talk about the experiences that shaped them and the steps they've taken towards wholeness. There's no single way to heal, and no story is too small. Whether the wounds come from trauma, grief, addiction, broken relationships, or self-doubt, this segment is here to hold space for every voice and every version of healing. These conversations are raw, powerful, and rooted in truth, because healing doesn't just happen in silence. It happens when we share, listen, and grow together. So come as you are, and let's explore the many versions of healing. Hey y'all, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of the Healing Version podcast, the Versions of Healing segment, which is the interview segment that we have going on for some weeks now. I hope that you guys are enjoying all of the guests that I've been bringing on. Today we have a very special guest, and we're going to get into this interview. I'm so happy to have you here, Miss Lisa Watson. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So Lisa Watson is a transformational coach, author, and founder of Awaken the One, a children's book series devoted to raising conscious, emotionally intelligent young souls. For her passion for healing didn't come from theory. It was born out of lived experiences. From a painful childhood marked by abandonment and addiction to nearly 30 years in a marriage with a narcissistic partner. Lisa's journey has been anything but easy. Through it all, she discovered her calling to help others shift from fear-based conditioning to lives rooted in love, sovereignty, and self-empowerment. Her signature approach is the Reparent Yourself method that helps people rewrite limiting beliefs, heal their inner child, and reconnect with their divine nature. Today, Lisa shares her story, her tools, and her heart with us so that we too can awaken the one within. All right, so I want to get right into this because the abandonment, the addiction in childhood, so this speaks to me already, and we haven't even started the questions. So as far as your personal journey and foundations, beliefs, what would you say started the shaping of where you are today? Like as a little girl, like what is the memory you can go back to the furthest?
Well, it's not one particular memory as far as, what shaped me today, but along with the challenges that I've had to experience in my life, dysfunctional families. And my path isn't so much different than everybody else's, to be perfectly honest. Like now that, I'm a coach and I work with people and help them to heal, like so many of us have just had really difficult upbringings and childhoods. And this world that we live in hasn't made it too easy on us. But what really shaped me as a child, to be perfectly honest, was I was blessed enough to have been introduced to personal development and spiritual concepts from a very young age. My father, although he didn't live with me, he was not a present father or anything. I'll just describe him as not a great 3D father. But he was really into spirituality and kind of woo-woo fringe sort of stuff. And that's really the only thing he knew. He was kind of like a recluse and not a normal kind of guy. But because he introduced this stuff to me, it gave me this incredible foundation that helped me not get too sucked in to my own trauma, basically, that I was able from a young age to gain a new perspective on it, and not in a religious sort of way where there was a lot of dogma and sin and guilt attached to it. It was more, I was introduced to the idea that we are all, creators of our own reality, and that everything that is happening is neutral and we give it all the meaning that it has for us. I was introduced to, it's called A Course in Miracles, when I was like 16. So having that knowledge from a young age mixed in with the abandonment and dysfunction and alcoholism and all that went along with it, in narcissistic relationships, is really what shaped me into who I am today and being able to do what I do today.
Awesome. That's good. So would you say that although Dad wasn't there, that he gave you a foundation of something that led you into like a better light, or a great spiritual path, I'll say?
Yeah. And I mean, to be perfectly transparent and honest with you, I consider myself to be what some people may call like, like a light worker or a chosen one, or someone who was mission here on this planet is to bring more light and to usher us into the new world and help us to live from a place of love rather than fear. And it's my life's calling. Like it's obvious within my life, just the fact, the kind of father I had, all the trauma that I have gone through, and that I was introduced to these spiritual concepts young, and I have a complete passion for it. And it comes easily and naturally to me. So I believe that everything happens for us, and that we're on a path, and that the bad things that we think happened to us in our childhood aren't really bad. They were just experiences for us to be able to take on basically the programs and the conditioning that I needed to live. I needed to experience them to be able to alchemize them into love, and to be able to teach other people how to do the same. So that's why I went through them. And that's why we all go through our stuff. It's all a matter of perception, really.
Absolutely. I would say that there's no coincidences. Like everything that's happening is happening for a reason. It's what you do with whatever lessons or experiences that you have. Like what did you learn from it, and what would you do different, or would you do it the same? So definitely understand that. Would you say that you, before the spirituality, you grew up like in a fear-based programming type system where it was?
Absolutely. I'm the youngest of 8. My mother was an alcoholic, single. We didn't have a dad in the house. All of my 7 other siblings, they share the same parents, but I have a different father. So there was a lot of, not feeling worthy within my own house, or not feeling like I even belong there. There's just a lot of stuff that went on that made me, not have beliefs of worthiness. And what it is that I teach now that I really want to, address on this podcast is that understanding that the first 7 years of our childhood is when our subconscious mind is developed. And so let me just, if you don't mind, I'm just going to tell you a little story. Okay. I'm going to tell you the story. So, about 10 years ago, I finally was able to get out of my 28-year relationship with a narcissist. I have 2 sons, and they were grown. They had graduated from college at the time. And so I was able to get out of that relationship. And I decided at that time that I was going to start living life on my terms. I had been, because of my conditioning in childhood and not feeling worthy and deserving, and being an empath that I am, which is someone who is very like people pleaser, codependent. I'm really sensitive to other people's emotions. Mm-hmm. It's a real typical for empathic type people to pair themselves up with narcissists. But I just decided, you know what, I'm going to figure it out. Kind of like my dad used to tell me, he's looking for the keys to life. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to find the keys. Like everyone wants to be free, right? We all want to be sovereign, free beings who feel peaceful. We want to have enough money so that we can take good care of ourselves, have the freedom to travel, do what we want, not be stressed, right? I just wanted a vibrant, beautiful life. And I was I read lots of books, done tons of spiritual work, tons of personal development my entire life. And I was listening to some sort of talk. I think it was Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief, a book that I really love. He said that he realized that it's the subconscious beliefs that are mainly driving our reality. It's what we believe will be inevitable. It's what we're conditioned to believe our lives will be like, what we're worthy of, that will end up being our life. Whatever we believe will be what we are able to produce in our life. And he had talked about how, so he kind of realized that his life wasn't that great and that he wanted to change it. And I was like, I'm right there with you, Bruce. Like, let's do this. And I realized I need to find what my subconscious beliefs are. It kind of made me a little nervous and kind of pissed off at first when I thought about it. I'm like, so my life isn't working out the way I want because there's something happening in there that I don't even know about? Like these subconscious beliefs, I got to go find something invisible? That sounded like kind of hard at first. And so I just went on this quest to kind of figure it out. I changed careers. I started becoming a coach. I started going back to school to get my PhD in integrative health medicine, took tons of different courses and learned all sorts of different things and had a spiritual awakening in 2017. So like lots of things were happening. And I got really into conscious parenting and delving into childhood development and the brain, like reading the Evolve Your Brain by Joe Dispenza is a great book. And I just started learning more about how we truly develop and how does the subconscious mind form. I want to know if I have things in there that aren't working for me, I need to reprogram them. And so what I discovered is that in the first 7 years of life, I liken it to like we're spiritual beings and these bodies are avatars. They're basically a really high tech computer robot, so to speak. And we live in a virtual reality that our energetic morphinogenic field is creating this virtual holographic reality. It's been proven. I started studying quantum physics and I started realizing like, okay, there's a quantum field, like the observer effect, double slit experiment. I started, researching all these things. And I realized that the brain is the operating system to this avatar. And when we're born, let's say two babies are born, and one is born into a very like affluent family that is, there's no trauma, there's love, and there's plenty of money, and there's plenty of emotional regulation, and everything's chill, right? Then there's another baby, and this baby goes into a situation where there's drug addiction and violence and poverty and things like that. Both babies, would you agree, Deborah, are equally as innocent and valued and loving. They're equal, these two babies, yes, right? When they show
absolutely.
up. Okay. So the only thing that changes a person, an avatar, a human being, is the conditioning that they grew up around, the beliefs that they took on about who they are and what's possible in their life. So we learn based off of the behaviors that are modeled for us, the environment that is around us, the words that are told to us. So if we live in a household where everyone's emotionally regulated and we're valued and we're validated and we're spoken to kindly, we're going to learn to feel good about ourselves. We'll feel worthy. We'll feel deserving. We'll know how to articulate, and we'll expect that our life will be like that. We'll expect this is just the way people are and the way things work. And we'll create a reality that's close to that. This other baby that's in with the drug addict mom and the violence and all that is going to probably create a life that's very similar to that, because that's what they're conditioned to believe is possible for them. That's the world that they believe that is their world. So that's the world they'll create. But the beautiful thing that I discovered is it doesn't matter what those subconscious beliefs are. you can rewrite them. We can literally go back and we can reparent ourselves through basically dialogue within our own mind, just talking to ourselves. We can write a new narrative and we can teach this inner child that she is as worthy and as deserving as any other baby born on this planet, and that there was never anything wrong with her, that she was always worthy and always deserving, that if her mother abandoned her or didn't speak well to her, or she was sexually abused, or any bad things that could have happened, it was never because of anything that this innocent, beautiful child did right or wrong. It was simply because that's the environment that she was born into. And
Absolutely.
so when you start to understand, I am worthy and I am deserving, and you decide, I'm just going to start parenting myself the way that I wished I had been parented. I'm going to start telling myself all the things I wish my mother and father told me. I'm going to start showing up for myself the way I wished people would have shown up for me. I'm going to start having good boundaries. I'm going to start using my voice. I'm not going to be a people pleaser anymore or codependent. I'm going to say no when I want to say no. No one's coming to save me. I'm going to decide to save myself. Because what we end up doing is, because there really is no time is an illusion and everything's happening on the same, like the way that time works, it's happening. There is only the now moment. Literally, like that's all we have is this moment. The future hasn't even rendered yet. And the past, it's dust. It's gone. It doesn't even exist, only in our memory. So our inner child, which is our subconscious mind, our inner child is that subconscious programming. Our inner child gets stuck out on these timelines where he had to disconnect from their authentic self, from their authenticity, out of fear of being safe and accepted. If you were yelled at for being a certain way, maybe you took a pretty red marker and you drew all over the new white couch one day because it looked like it was fun, and mom or dad or a caregiver was mad and you got a timeout. Maybe you were punished or you had privileges taken away and you were told that you were a bad girl. A child doesn't understand what that means. They don't have the prefrontal cortex developed in their,
Yes.
They don't have it. It's not developed. So all they hear is, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not lovable. They don't understand money, time, inconvenience, white versus black. They don't understand anything about. They were just coloring a couch, a white background that looked pretty to me, And so what happens is we end up disconnecting from our authentic self because we don't feel safe to be ourselves. If we're not worthy and we're not deserving and we're not loved, then we're not safe, because a child under the age of 8 also knows that on a subconscious, like on a DNA level, that they're dependent on an adult for their survival. So if you're put in timeout and you're shunned and you're shamed, you're literally not safe. Your own survival is at jeopardy. And the amygdala is a part of the brain that a child does have developed at that age. And that's when you go into fight, flight, or freeze response, or fawn. Your nervous system gets dysregulated because you feel like you're in survival mode. So what happens is a lot of people have anxiety, depression, autoimmune disorders, addiction and things are simply nervous system dysregulation issues because of the fear of not being safe to be our authentic self. Like, who the heck are we supposed to be loved and accepted? I don't know. I mean, you're just a child. You're just trying to be you. And when your outer reality doesn't accept that, it causes conflict and it causes emotional dysregulation, which can then turn into depression, anxiety, all sorts of autoimmune disorders, like I said, and addictions and things like that. Or just continuing to perpetuate poor relationships, narcissistic relationships, toxic relationships, just mirrors of what you truly believe about yourself because of your experience and what you've been told.
Wow. So with the reparents method, you say reparent yourself. Excuse me. What does that look like on a day to day? Like, how does one who needs to reparent, like, what are some things that should be incorporated?
So mainly it's going to be connecting with your inner child and self-talk. And it's interesting. I'm actually doing, I'm with a client. I'm working with a client right now. It's a 2-week thing, like an in-home stay, kind of like a nanny almost in a way for an adult who is getting freed from addiction. And we're doing healing in real time. And I'm here staying with her. I get teary, like thinking about it because it's so powerful. Because we're doing real-time healing. Because healing doesn't happen on a mountain necessarily, or on a yoga mat, or even in meditation. It happens when you're faced with something that dysregulates you. When your child is doing something and you're feeling, or your mother or your spouse, or you have too many things going on and you're not sure what to do. So the real-time healing happens, the reparenting of yourself happens in the moment. So let me give you an example. Like, let's say, okay, I was in a narcissistic relationship for over 28 years. So my ex-husband was very controlling to me, and I was conditioned to be very like, pay attention to time, because he was always like, if I was 3 minutes later than he thought I would be, it's like, where have you been? And then accusing me of doing something I shouldn't have been doing. So I was always really nervous, like, about time, and I have to make sure I have to get here, I have to get there, which may have been something you experienced as a child. Like maybe your mother or your father were a certain way with time or with chores, or like anything, just something where you felt like you were kind of being watched. You knew you were going to be in trouble if you did or didn't do something, right? So you have an experience in your current reality. Like for me, I was at work one day nannying, and my client, she kept me about 45 minutes late telling me a story, and I kind of let her. And then when I realized that I got to my car and that I was going to be home about 45 minutes later than I thought, to my new husband, I'm married again, I had a panic attack for a second before I got in my car. I was like, oh my God, I'm late and I didn't tell him. And what if he's waiting for me for dinner? And I realized that all of those thoughts that I was thinking had nothing to do with my current reality. And I had to reparent myself in that moment. And I said, hey, we're safe. Like, I know that in the past we've gotten in trouble and it's been scary when we haven't done things, but we don't have to do that anymore. You're safe now. I've got you. No one's going to be mad at you. We're okay. And I drove home and I rubbed my arms and I rubbed my shoulder a little bit. And I talked to my little girl and I tell her, I know that was hard. It was hard when we were always getting in trouble, but we're not there anymore. We're okay. Everything's going to be good. And you just start parenting yourself. And I got home and I walked in the door and I was still a little nervous. And my husband was actually sitting on the couch relaxing. And I said, yo, I'm sorry, I got stuck, whatever. And he looked at me like he had no idea what I was even talking about. He was like, dinner? Late? No, you're good. I didn't even notice. And I'm like, okay. So reparenting just happens in the moment when you feel yourself getting nervous and you find yourself falling into maybe patterns of thought or behavior. You take that time to really sit with it and ask yourself, what am I really worried about here? What's happening? What is this reminding me of? Why do I think that? Why do I behave this way? Awareness is the very first step in this healing journey. It's what I always start my clients off with. It's just a deep awareness of self-observation with no judgment, where you just start paying attention to every little thought that goes through your head. You start listening to your body. You start paying attention to when you feel, what's happening. And you don't try to do anything about it at first. You just observe, and you'll start to see patterns. And then once you start to have this pattern recognition, that's when you'll be able to step in and reprogram where you need to reprogram. But it's really about pattern recognition in your own self.
I do have a question about like abandonment, right?
Okay.
So I think for me, and I'm sure other people, like abandonment was a thing as a child. And I don't, for the life of me, so a little background, my spiritual awakening was when I discovered that I had abandonment issues. It was this guy I was dating, and like he started acting a way, and it triggered me in a way that I almost became obsessed with trying to figure out why he changed, why everything changed about him, why wasn't he doing the things he was doing when we first started talking. And I started journaling, and I could just remember hearing a voice saying like, "Oh, you have abandonment issues." And I'm like, that makes sense. Like it's triggered me in a way that I was like as a child, because my dad wasn't around. He basically abandoned me. And I'm like, so I'm linking this to that. And at the time I didn't even think about like the inner child thing at that moment. But as I started doing some soul searching, I'm like, oh, okay. So I just feel like for me, like that has been like one of the deepest wounds that it's like every time it starts to heal, something will happen that'll like trigger me in a way that I'm like, it's still there. Mm-hmm. So like, what are some things that I can do to help with like that abandonment issue wound?
So you want to have a direct conversation with your inner child. You want to find her and validate her experience. Around what age were you when your father left?
He was never there. The first time he ever seen me, I was 1 year old.
Okay. So he was just not present in your life ever.
Not present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He came around. So like my mom and him had like an on again, off again relationship. So I'll see him then, but then she'll make him upset. So then the kids would have to suffer from it. Well, I'm not doing nothing for y'all. I don't want to see y'all. So
okay. So he would come back sometimes, which made it even harder, I'm sure, because you'd get him for a little bit and then he'd be gone again.
Yeah.
So you just want to talk to that little girl. Whenever you start feeling that little bit of like, yeah, you have a new boyfriend or a new partner and he doesn't text you back right away, or he has to change a date time or can't show up for something, and you're ready to kind of pounce on him and be like, why would you do that to me? And you're however you react when you're triggered, right? So you get triggered by something. The triggers are golden nuggets. Triggers are, I like to think of this life like as a video game, like, and just really not take it seriously, honestly. So it's like everything's just an experience. It's just here to lead me to like another gold star. Like I'm Mario looking for stars now. So if you trigger me, I'm like, oh, all right, thank you. I found another star.
Not to cut you off, but it's so funny you said that. Literally, I was pumping gas yesterday and I was standing at the gas pump and I just started turning around, just looking. I was like, this is not real. Like, it's not real. This is just, and I'm just looking at everybody going about their day. I'm like, whatever, you can't have
you're totally right
with everybody. So I'm just like, whatever.
It is a holograph. It is a holographic reality. That's not hyperbole. It's not exaggeration. It's truth. We are creating a holographic reality based on the structure of the beliefs that we hold and the frequency that we hold. It is what renders this experience for us. So it truly is an unfolding of a game that you're the character and the conductor and the writer and everything of. You've put it all into place. It's happening for you to help you remember that you're actually God in form, that you are the 0 point, that you are consciousness, and that there is nothing outside of your consciousness. Nothing. No past, no future. Nothing exists outside of what you believe. Everything is neutral. It's absolutely wild and crazy, and I love it. So
I'm sorry, you were telling the video
I'm going to get
game
right back to that. I didn't forget. Okay. So inner child healing, reparenting yourself, abandonment issues. So you're just going to connect back with that little girl. So you're feeling a little something happened, a text, whatever it is. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm feeling nervous. Like, what is this? I feel like maybe we might get abandoned. Like, I just feel that sense of like, maybe I'm not good enough or he's not going to come back. I know why that is. That's because dad wasn't there. And we think our future is going to be like the past. We think that that's going to happen again to us because it was so painful that we're holding on to that. Well, this is when you tell your inner child how old you are, what year it is, and that she is not a child anymore. Okay? She has new parents now, and it's you. You are the greatest parent ever. You're a mix between her mother and father, and you are going to make sure that she's never abandoned. You will never abandon her. You understand it was difficult, but dad's not to blame. It's just an experience we had. It's something we had to go through to remember how much I really love you and that I'm always going to be here for you. And even if this guy never comes back, you know what? That's okay. I'm always going to be here and I'm going to keep you safe. And I love you. And that's what matters. You're worthy and you're deserving. And whether somebody abandons us or doesn't abandon us will not determine whether we're worthy of love or not. Because we are nothing but love and we are worthy and deserving. And no one outside of us has to see it because I see it. It's like, imagine you as a child with your parent telling you that. If someone treated you poorly and you're like, oh, no, never mind that man, honey, come here, come closer. I love you. It doesn't matter what he thinks. You're going to grow up with this sense of I'm pretty awesome. It doesn't matter. Other people don't have to like me. It's okay. And so you're just going to teach yourself that now. And what I find to be the most important word in the reparenting process is letting your inner child know she is safe. She is safe to feel whatever she wants to feel. She's safe to do whatever it is she needs to do. You're always going to look out for her best interest. And then you need to hold the highest allegiance to your inner child and your inner self. She becomes your number one responsibility. There's no more people pleasing. There's no more letting people walk all over your boundaries, because if you do that, you're letting them walk all over her. And you pretend that you have a little girl right by your side all the time. And you're going to take care of her like you've always wanted to be taken care of. I'm telling you, it's going to shift your world.
This might be the second interview that made me tear up. But yes, that just visualizing that, and just because it's the crazy part about it is that I know that. And I feel like it gets harder when it's somebody like you truly love, and it's hard to let go because you truly love that person. And so it's like, am I holding on to it, or is the child holding on to it? Because I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some soul searching. But
it's what it is, Deborah. It's tied to safety. And I know this because I've been doing this deep, deep work on myself. Like, if there's anyone who walks their talk, it's me. I literally spent like 3 years in a closet working with myself and crying. My husband used to make jokes about, I just cry every day that ends in Y. Like, literally just allowing myself to heal and do my own thing. And what it always came down to for me was that I didn't feel safe. I wasn't letting go of this relationship simply because of beliefs I had, beliefs that this world taught me, people-pleasing beliefs. The smallest things we say, like you have children, so you know.
Yes.
Your child, and we say dumb stuff all the time that we have no idea how it's really shaping our children. We just don't realize it. Like, I'm with this client right now. I'm just thinking of real-time healing, she was talking to her 12-year-old son who's not here with us, and he was on the phone, and she needed the phone he was using was an adult's, and she needed that adult to see something. And he's like, well, Mom, I'm talking to my friend. And she said, well, this is more important than you talking to your friend right now. And then after she got off the phone, she was like, yeah, that didn't sound right. Like, I didn't like how that came out. And I was like, well, right, because you're saying to him, you're more important than he is. What I have to do is more important than what you have to do. And from his world, he can't see that. He doesn't understand that. He doesn't have the logic to balance, adult stuff from child stuff, money stuff from work stuff. What he just hears, I'm not important. And so we just have to be really, careful. Like, you're talking to your friends. I know that's really important, but I need something right away. Could you do me this favor or something? And just not saying that they're not important. Or, I nannied for over 3 years doing workshopping to learn more about childhood development and conscious parenting, because my children are in their 30s. They were in their 20s when I started down this road. And so I wanted to be around small kids. And I learned so many things. Like, a child asked me for a certain type of food. And I make this food, and the child's only, 3 years old. And then I go to give them the food and they don't want it. And I caught myself almost saying, well, you asked for it, so, you're going to have it. And then being in training for conscious parenting and having awareness, I'm listening to my thoughts before I say them. And I'm like, okay, if I say that to this child right now, what am I really teaching him? And I thought, well, I would be teaching him that it's not okay to change your mind. Do I want to teach him that it's not okay to change your mind? And I thought, no, I do not want to teach him that, because if he makes a mistake sometime in his life, like we do, we go in one door and we decide that's not the door we actually want to be in. How many of us don't just turn the heck around and leave because we were taught stuck. You chose it, you stick with it, right? You went down that path, you have to complete it. And that is not what I want to teach. And so I changed my mind, and I said, oh, okay, so you changed your mind. You don't want to have this thing anymore. That's okay. What would you like to have? And so just really listening to your words and asking yourself, what am I teaching them? How is this going to serve them when they're 14 or 16? When, they have to make a decision about a friend or a boy or something that happens online or a text or in school. How do I want them to show up for themselves? I want them to know mistakes are okay. I want them to know they can change their mind. I want them to know that they need strong boundaries. We don't want to save our kids from things. We don't want to protect them. We want to teach them how to use self-empowerment tools so that when they're an adult, they can do it on their own. Childhood is simply the training ground. It's the workshopping for adult life. We don't expect them to already know. What we need to do more with children is just be perfectly okay with them changing their mind, making mistakes, not doing it right, and then gently correcting and showing them the way without shame. It's like teaching them how to ride a bike. You're not screaming at them when they fall off. You're not giving, well, maybe some parents are. I'm sure it happens all the time. But, when they fall off, you're being kind. You're like, oh, you can get back on, try again. Maybe they fell off 100 times, but we have so many programs that are tied. What I have found, big programs that I see on a regular basis still running for me are associated with time. I'll hear myself giving myself a hard time, like, oh, I should have done that already, or why is that taking me so long? And then when I listen to that, I'm like, that's when I do reparenting in the now moment. And I'm like, it took you that long because that's how long it took. And why are we judging ourselves against time? Is there some clock in the sky that we're supposed to be doing this stuff by? No, because we were told when we were little, hurry up, you should have done it by now. Why don't you listen? I've told you 3 times. This shouldn't have taken you that long. People who succeed do it in this amount of time. There's so many gosh darn rules out there.
Yes.
So what rules are we bumping up this negative self-talk against? Right?
Right.
And just start asking yourself that and listen intently to every word coming through your inner dialogue. Listen to every thought that flies by. And I said, when you hear one that you don't like, call it out. Like what I do now, I wish I remember what the thought was. This happened several weeks ago, and a thought came, and it was not positive. It was disempowering. And I stopped and I said, I saw like a classroom in my mind, I saw a little boy in the back of the classroom in my mind. And I was like, hey, you back there, stand up, say that again, say it louder. What did you say? And I wanted to know, what did I think? Let's shine a light on it. What are we saying to ourselves? Let's hear it. Because if I don't like it, I want to address it and choose a different thought, choose a different neural pathway to create. So what I used to do, and what a lot of people do, is as we become aware, we start to push these things away. Oh, I shouldn't think that. Oh, I shouldn't do that. Oh, and that's all judgment also. So I say, don't pull it closer in and look at it without judgment or shame. Oh, look what I just thought. Okay. Yeah, I hear that. I see that. Okay. I'm going to choose not to do that anymore. That's how you start to free yourself from these programs, is by actually giving them love, giving them attention, giving them the spotlight, and then saying, gently correcting them, just like you would with a child. So I do the reparenting method with adults, which in turn helps them to become better parents, because I'm just teaching you how to be a really good parent to yourself. And if you have children, I help people teach, I teach them as well, as like talking that same way to your child. But you have to do the reparenting. If you want to be a better parent, it is about working on yourself and your own inner child and the relationship that you have with your inner child. And once you become that relationship stabilizes and you can really be loving towards yourself, it's much, much easier to do it with your own children.
Absolutely. So if there was one truth that you could leave the listeners with, a truth to carry with them on their healing journey, what would that be?
That you are innocent, and that you are love, and you are only love. And that any behavior you've had, any mistake you think you've ever made, has not been a mistake. It was just a product of your programming and your conditioning about who you thought you were and what you thought you needed to do to be safe, to survive. You're perfect.
Absolutely. Well, can you share with the audience how they can contact you and reach you and all of that information?
Thank you. I have a website called reparent-yourself.com, which is my coaching website. I also write children's books to help give parents the tools they need to teach their children these types of things like emotional regulation. My first book, Courage Finds Us Calm, comes out on August 5th. It's available for pre-order in bookstores now. It's for 3 to 7-year-olds. It's a rhyming book that teaches about breath work and how to stay grounded when something happens that doesn't feel so good. And there's a website for that as well, awakentheone.org. I'm on TikTok and I am on Instagram regularly as Reparent Yourself as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate the conversation. It was an emotional one, but I think
I love making people cry.
I'm sure someone in the audience is listening. It also helped them, and I'm glad about it. Thank you so much for being here, and